Hi. Okay, so this is a walkthrough of a document that I've made looking at the strategy behind adding a Saga mechanic to Spin Genie and having a play for money slots working with a Saga. Previously we'd looked at the brand that you've already got, the game that you'd already got, and some of the ways in which we could use those elements along with what other sites are doing, like Casumo, to tie them together. I have gone deeper than that conversation in an attempt to try and get a very firm foundation for what the player's experience will be, because we don't want to build a slot site with a story that just gets in the way and is irrelevant ultimately to a player's motivation for playing the game. So I've tried to pare down a cycle for the player in which they're truly motivated to progress through the saga in order to get the most reward out of the slots. Here's the problem as I see it. You want to get the greatest value out of your players, and you have a lot of the parts that you know you need. It's just putting them together. So let's look at some basic cycles for existing models, for things that we know exist, and we know we've got some elements from those. Your basic slot cycle, really simple by the number stuff. When a player plays a slot site, they get drawn in, they want to win, they win, and they want to do it all again, and they make a deposit, and that cycle creates a beneficial cycle for the product in that they're spending money. For a saga, for any sort of casual game, again, very simplified, the proposition of the adventure and the narrative and the creative IP of the product makes you want to take part. There are challenges ahead, and as you complete each one, it's built in such a way that you crave the next chapter of the journey, and so the cycle carries on. So there are disadvantages to some of these things, and there are advantages. One of the disadvantages you can see in the slots is obviously if people are on a losing streak, then it's a negative experience for them, and that can be a way in which a player is lost. There's an opportunity in the saga cycle that is how people often monetize sagas, which is that you can pay to avoid grind, or you can pay to achieve your targets in a more pleasurable way or a more effective way. Bear those in mind, because those are real problems and real opportunities that means that you could take advantage of the structure of the player's path when we put stuff together. So here's a basic idea of what we'd all imagine once you put a slots site and a saga together. You're playing slots, you're generating XP. Part of that is that you're achieving achievements, and the saga kicks in that you want more of the achievements that you've seen, and that supposedly powers you back to play more slots to generate more XP. It's important to point out that the saga is irrelevant really in this cycle. This is 5-star slots without the saga. It's any free-to-play slot site that has achievements. So the saga is not actually relevant. It's not really working hard. It's not a critical part of this system. And so if you then look at adding a mini game that is supposed to leverage you, supposed to sort of empower you in that saga, or play a part in this cycle, it's adding more irrelevance to something. It's not a critical part of that cycle. It doesn't add meaning to the achievements that you're getting or the slots that you're playing. It's cosmetic. You might enjoy it. It might be done in a particular way, which means that you have a nice story that adds a bit of fun to. But ultimately, the saga, the story, is not increasing your rewards in any way in the game. Let's park that thought for a second and look at a couple of things that are real ways in which gaming elements can improve a player's cycle and improve, create opportunities for the player to feel rewarded. That's one thing. This is something that we know from free-to-play sites. You can catch someone when their funds are low, and it's a good opportunity in which to monetize them, and by doing so you're also keeping them in the game. From an emotional point of view, would also be possible to track when a player who is playing for real money is losing real money and is therefore having a negative experience. This is something that real money slot sites just seem to live with, but it's a perfect opportunity for sort of secondary content to come in and be able to give a rewarding little inserted game, mini game, to be able to catch a player on a sort of negative slide, and it seems feasible to, albeit with XP or with some secondary currency, to be able to give them a rewarding game and they then feel better. Now, what kind of experience would that be? Because we've looked at the mini game you've got now, and I think I said at the time it's hard to see the problem that game is solving, whereas here is a clear solution to a known problem if you can get the right sort of experience. And I would say that experience is all about, the aim of that game is entirely to make someone feel better about themselves, about their own achievements, and also to make them feel like they're getting value out of the site. So it's all about good news. It's the player feels like they've done it, they've triggered something, they've collected some things, but it all creates more and more power-ups, chain reactions, things fall into their lap. It's a game, the game needs to be designed around rewarding the player and the player feeling like it's just getting better and better. So those were some kind of unrelated elements, the last few pages, or different aspects of what seem to be opportunities, things that we know could work, issues with existing models. The question seems to be, all of these seem to either be valuable things to bring into a product or important parts of a user's experience that we need to catch and improve in some way. And if you can get all of these things working together in a cycle where nothing's cosmetic, everything is powering everything else, then it seems to me that you have a really rock solid structure on which to start saying, right, how do we deliver this to the player as an experience? So let's just see how I can see that this could be put together. You have your central activity. This is what we want to return players to all the time. When their funds are low, you catch them, offer them deposit bonuses and various special offers to keep them playing. Emotionally, you catch their experience. If it's going bad on the slots, you step in with the mini game at that point, rewarding them with XP and making them feel good about their point in the game and driving them back to carry on playing. The playing on the slots itself drives XP, as well as any extra boosts that they get from the games. That drives the storyline, that drives a set of achievements, and continues in a cycle whereby the player is forever progressing along the saga path. But the thing which seems to be a way to tie everything together is if the saga ties in with the content of the two things that you're rewarding the player with. The two things that happen in the cycles of regular playing on the slots, when they need to top up with funds, or when you need to emotionally top them up. The things that they get back that enable them to play slots are forever getting better because they are progressing through the saga. So this would mean these could be relatively simple retheming kinds of bonuses. You could get as clever as you like, really, as to exactly what part of the story feeds into what deposit bonus you could offer, or what part of the story feeds into what kind of changes in the theme of the mini game happen. But in essence, it's this relationship that you've now got everything being tied together. And the important thing there is that even though we've got behind the scenes, we've got all these different elements working together, you want the proposition for the player to be extremely simple and to be extremely, what's the phrase? Seems like a simple, good deal for a game site. And so I would put the proposition as being, it's all about improving your cash return. You play slots at Spin Genie, but the difference is all the time you're playing, that is turning into cash bonuses, and the thing that Spin Genie gives you is extra mini games to boost your cash bonuses. That all happens in an adventure, but the essential value of the product are these two benefits. That's it. Cheers.